Entering the 2020 season, Joe Mixon was seen as one of the better running backs in the NFL. His burst hit the next level, his combination of quickness and power to finish runs, and his footwork to avoid tackles in open space are all what makes him a talented player. Right before the season, the Bengals recognized these abilities and they re-signed him to a new contract averaging $12 million a season. Since then, however, Mixon hasn't exactly lived up to expectations. In his first 3 weeks of the season, he's averaged a measly 3.2 yards per carry on the ground. It wasn't until week 4 against the Jaguars that Mixon finally broke out. He rushed 25 times, gaining 151 yards, and he also scored 3 total touchdowns. Based on this game, I wanted to see what exactly happened. How did he go from the 3 games of pretty poor production to dominating the Jaguars in this one? For this video, I went through and tracked all of his carries so far in the season. I then compared his first 3 games to the most recent one to see exactly what I could find out. Here's what I discovered. In weeks 1 through 3, Mixon created just 0.9 yards per carry independent of his offensive line. Meanwhile, in week 4, he created 1.9 yards per carry in the same metric. Now, one thing you should also notice is that his blocking, irrespective of his own rushing abilities, was substantially better against the Jaguars. They improved from averaging 2.3 yards per carry to over 4 in this game. This is a big reason why Mixon put up so many yards against his defense. Yes, he did create more on his own, but his blocking did a large percentage of this work, and that's clearly shown in this graph. Now, we'll come back to this point in a minute, but first I wanted to look at one of my favorite plays from this game. It happened in the middle of the 3rd quarter. The Bengals ran inside zone out of shotgun, and they scored on a 23-yard run. Let's see what Mixon did on this one. Before the snap, the first thing I want you to notice is just how tight the offensive linemen are lining. Typically, the spacing between them is anywhere from 2 to 3 feet, but on this play they're actually toe-to-toe. This is pretty rare from the plays that I saw from the Bengals during the first 4 weeks of the season. What happens with tight alignments is that the offense is trying to consolidate the field. They want to give themselves better angles on their double teams. Plus, with the additional benefit that the defense is tighter aligned, this also creates windows for quick throws on the outside. Many times out of shotgun, the Bengals will run a slant on the backside in order to give the quarterback a one-on-one opportunity. Another thing you can do with this tight alignment is that you can also run a zone read option play where you pile the defense close and give your quarterback more room to hit the edge. If the defense pounces on the running back, then Burrow can theoretically keep it and gain yards outside. This is actually what the Jaguars think the Bengals are doing on this one. Pay close attention to number 53 after the snap. Instead of staying in his gap, he leaves it to attack the quarterback, which opens a window for Mixon. On the screen, I've shown you what the gap responsibility should be, but as you can see, there's a clear bust in this run fit. That's why there's a hole in the backside B gap. After the snap, Mixon takes the handoff and both 42 and 53 immediately crash the edge looking to stop Burrow. Mixon sees this and he immediately jumps into the hole between the backside tackle and the backside guard. He then sprints into the second level. Once he faces the safety on the play, he does a great job of chopping his feet to create hesitation before breaking outside. He uses this to avoid the tackle. After beating the safety, he casually jogs into the end zone for the touchdown. While this play did feature a good open field move by Mixon, the defensive breakdown is a big reason why this play happened in the first place. If the linebackers were more disciplined, I'd argue that this run wouldn't have turned into a touchdown. Yes, the threat of Burrow from a play calling perspective is great to see, and it definitely contributed to this run, but I'm not going to downplay how bad this defense was in this game. This same issue also happened on Mixon's 34-yard touchdown earlier in the 3rd quarter. This play is just a classic gap run called duo. The Bengals love hitting its strong side with Mixon's ability to get into open space after they line up heavy in that direction. What happened here was that since the defense was playing man coverage, the Bengals exploited that with this run. Their contained defenders completely crashed on the play, and Mixon was given a big hole to run through. Now, with me explaining these plays like I have, I don't want to give you a false impression that I think Joe Mixon is bad or anything like that. I actually like Mixon a lot. While this is definitely the case, I think there's a level of scheme and usage that he has to rely on in order to create his plays. Again, I do think he's a really good running back, but my worry comes down to his ability to create against great defenses. This offensive line isn't the best at creating holes, and Mixon has never been a dominant player on inside runs. He's more of a +1 to +2 on the standard inside carries, and honestly his value really comes alive when he gets into open space. This is where he does most of his damage. By running hard, creating angles, and by finishing each play strongly, this is where Mixon really stands out. Now, the reason why this bothers me is that his upcoming schedule is absolutely brutal. The Bengals face some really good run defenses in the following weeks. They face the Ravens in week 5, they face the Colts in week 6, the Browns in week 7, and they also face the Steelers, who have the best run defense according to DVOA in weeks 10 and 15 respectively. This is extremely concerning. I just don't see these defenses giving up these easy runs like the Jaguars did here. I also don't see the Bengals' offensive line dominating and creating some of these initial openings that I think Mixon needs to truly use his talents. Now, I know what I'm saying may sound pessimistic, and it may sound like I'm attacking the Bengals after they had a really good game. That's not the point of this video. The reason why I made this one is that it simply comes down to answering the initial question that I posed. Do I think his production is sustainable? My answer is unfortunately no, and for this video, I wanted to give you my honest and unfiltered thoughts. Now, one thing to note, and to be fair, I've been completely wrong before in the past. If you remember my Leonard Fournette video and how I thought he was underperforming around this time last season, he literally ran for his career high the following week. I sat there like the shocked Pikachu meme that entire game. For Mixon, this obviously could happen. However, I'd be certainly lying to you if I said the first few weeks of film didn't bother me. The offensive line just hasn't consistently shown me that they can create the openings that I think Mixon really needs. Like I said before, I really hope to be proven wrong. I like Mixon a lot, especially when he gets into open space, but against some of these elite defenses, it really worries me, especially looking at him from a fantasy football perspective. Regardless of what happens, the final thing that I want to say that really surprised me as I went through his film was the lack of variety in the play calling that I imagined I'd see. They ran inside zone using a variation out of single back or shotgun in over 55% of Mixon's runs. As you can see on this chart, I really hope to see more gap plays in the future. Yes, this is definitely being influenced by a big run against the Jaguars, but I do think these plays might help take advantage of future defenses. How they cover the Bengals receivers might help Mixon get outside on these play calls. That's how I'd use them in order to maximize his opportunities. One thing I will say is that I did see Zach Taylor calling more crack tosses to get Mixon to the edge. Let's hope we continue to see more of that going forward, as I think it does benefit Mixon's playstyle, and hopefully this is just the start of an awesome performance. Well, that's all I have for you in this one. I'll have a new video out for you next week, so go ahead and subscribe to my channel below and keep an eye out for that one. Thanks again for watching, and you can follow me on Twitter for my latest updates at Samuel R. Gold.